student. The question is, describe the abdominal aorta under following heads. First is, it is an introduction of the abdominal aorta, that from where it begins, what is its course and how it terminates, okay, in the posterior abdominal wall. Then second point is relations. We will have to write the relation anterior, posterior, right and left relation of the abdominal aorta. Then what are the branches of the abdominal aorta, and lastly about the applied anatomy. Now let us come to the first point of the answer. It is the introduction of the abdominal aorta. Now this abdominal aorta is located on the posterior wall of the abdomen in front of the vertebrae, okay, the lumbar vertebrae. Now this abdominal aorta is continuation of the descending thoracic aorta. That means it is the descending aorta in the thoracic region, which after coming out through the diaphragmatic opening, it becomes the abdominal aorta. It begins at the aortic opening of the diaphragm, which is located in front of the 12th thoracic vertebra. Okay, this aortic opening is located in front of the 12th thoracic vertebrae, and from this opening, as soon as it comes from this opening, aortic opening in the abdominal cavity, it is called as the abdominal aorta. Okay, so this is how the abdominal aorta begins in the posterior abdominal wall, in front of the posterior abdominal wall. Okay, so the beginning is at the level of 12th thoracic vertebrae. Okay, just behind the median arcuate ligament. Okay, median arcuate ligament, not the medial arcuate. Don't confuse it with the medial, which gives origin to the diaphragm. So the median is between the right and left crura of the diaphragm, right and left crura of the diaphragm. Okay, it covers, I mean say it crosses in front of the aorta at the level of T12. So it is called as the median arcuate ligament. So this is the beginning. Now the course. Okay, now this abdominal aorta runs in front of the upper four lumbar vertebrae. It runs in the upper four lumbar vertebrae. In front of it lies, okay, an intervertebral disc, okay, between, I mean say it, in front of the L1, L2, L3, L4 and the intervening intervertebral disc, that is the intervertebral disc between L1 and L2, okay, and between the T12 and L1, L1 and L2, L2 and L3, and then between L3 and L4 at L4. Now this, I mean the passage of the abdominal aorta, the course, it is up to the L4 lumbar vertebrae, where it divides into right and the left common iliac artery. So its termination is in front of the lower part of the lumbar fourth vertebra, lower part. Okay, it is close to the lower part of the lumbar fourth vertebra, where it divides into the right and left common iliac arteries. Okay, so throughout its course, from its beginning to its termination, the aorta slightly lies onto the left side, okay, in the midline. Okay, not exactly in the midline, but slightly to the left side of the midline. Okay, so this is about the beginning, course and termination of the abdominal aorta. You just keep on noting, okay, in your notebook. Now the second point is about the relation of the abdominal. After learning the course and termination, let us see what are the structures which are related to the abdominal aorta. Now this abdominal aorta will have the four different types of the relation. What lies in front of the abdominal aorta, what lies posterior to the abdominal aorta, what is on its right side, and what structures are lying onto the left side. Let us see this diagram first. I will little zoom it, okay, so that you can see it properly. See, this is the diagram where this is the T12 thoracic vertebra, body of the 12 thoracic vertebra. This is the body of the L1 vertebra, and this is the intervening intervertebral disc between T12 and L1. Okay. Similarly, this is L2 vertebra, this is L3 vertebra, and these are the intervertebral discs. Just in front of the bodies of these vertebrae, T12 to lower down, there is a presence of a ligament called as the anterior longitudinal ligament. See, shown here by the green color. Okay, so this green color line represent that the anterior longitudinal ligament. So I will just write here anterior longitudinal ligament. Okay, it is present throughout, right from the cervical vertebrae C1 to that of the sacrum. Okay, so this is anterior longitudinal ligament. Now then, in front of the anterior longitudinal ligament, as we have learned that the abdominal aorta lies in front of the vertebral bodies. Okay, so this is the abdominal aorta shown in the red color. Okay, it is shown in the red color. And then these are the structures which lie anteriorly. So this is the abdominal aorta shown in the sagittal section, and thus this diagram we will use to learn the relation, posterior relation and that of the anterior relation, because it is a sagittal section. Very simple diagram. Okay. Let us come to the anterior relation of the abdominal aorta. Now, anteriorly there is the presence of a trunk which is soon given, okay, anteriorly from the ventral aspect of the abdominal aorta, and this is a very short stump of the artery, and this soon divides into three different branches. Okay, soon this trunk divide, and this is called as the celiac trunk. So this I will write here celiac trunk. This is the celiac trunk, right? So this is the celiac trunk. So then another anterior relation, okay, will be the celiac plexus. Celiac plexus, which comes out around the celiac, trunk, okay, from where it is taking origin. Now this celiac plexus is an autonomic plexus, so I am just drawing here in front of the the root of the origin of the celiac trunk. So this anterior relation is the celiac plexus, and then there will be the plexus of the autonomic nerve in front of the aorta, that is called as aortic plexus. I am drawing it with the yellow color. Probably you are not able to see this yellow color. Okay, so just draw a network of the nerve plexus here, celiac plexus and the aortic. This will be two anterior relation of the abdominal aorta. Then just below the celiac trunk there will be the presence of another structure here, which is called as, just let me write, this is the body of the pancreas. So just I am drawing it here, body of the pancreas. So this is, I will write here, the body of pancreas. So body of pancreas will cross the aorta from right to the left side. Body of pancreas. Okay, just I have written body of. So this is the body of the pancreas, which will lies in front of the abdominal aorta, okay, below the celiac trunk. And then there will be a vein, and this vein is called as splenic vein, which lies on the posterior surface of the aorta. Posterior surface of the body of the pancreas, mostly embedded within the substance of the pancreas. So this is the splenic vein. Okay, this is the splenic vein. Splenic vein. So this is the splenic vein on posterior to the pancreas, body of pancreas, but lying anteriorly in relation to that of the aorta. Then there will be the third part of the duodenum which is also lying anteriorly, third part of the duodenum. Beside this uncinate process, okay, let us see the uncinate process. This is the uncinate process. So between body of pancreas and uncinate process here, this branch which is coming out, ventral branch from the abdominal aorta, is the superior mesenteric artery. Okay? So this is the superior mesenteric artery. Just I will write in short form, superior mesenteric artery, and this is the uncinate process of the pancreas, and this will be another structure which will be lying here. So this is the uncinate process just below that of the superior mesenteric artery, right? Now let us see another anterior structure which is lying in front of the pancreas, and this is the, third part of the duodenum which will be crossing to the aorta, and this is the third part of the duodenum, and let me draw it, third part. Okay, so this is the third part of the duodenum in cross section. Okay, it will come because it is crossing to the third part. It is crossing to the aorta. So this is the duodenum, third part of the duodenum is here. And below this duodenum there will be the origin of another artery from ventral aspect, and this is called as inferior mesenteric artery. So there are many structures here which are present here. Okay, many structures which are present onto the anterior relation of the abdominal aorta. So I will just again tell you the anterior relations of the abdominal aorta. It is the celiac plexus which is around the root of the celiac trunk, and autonomic nerve plexus, sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. Then this plexus goes on to the front of the aorta, that is called as aortic plexus. Okay, then body of the pancreas, the uncinate process of the pancreas, and the splenic vein is related here. Okay, the splenic vein is related here. Then it is the third part of the duodenum, third part which crosses from the right to the left, this part which is also lying touching to that of the anterior surface of the abdominal aorta, right? So these are the anterior relations. Just note down this anterior relation, right? Now we come to the posterior relation. Let us see what are the posterior relation of the abdominal aorta. Now posteriorly the abdominal aorta lies, okay, it is L1 to L4 vertebrae. See here I have drawn only up to L3, but it is right from the lower margin of T12 to L4 vertebrae on which lies the abdominal aorta. So L1, L2, L3 and L4 are in posterior relation. And then beside these posterior bodies there are intervertebral discs they are. So the bodies and intervertebral discs, they are in the posterior relation, and then in the posterior relation in front of this lies a strong ligament that is called as anterior longitudinal ligament here. So it is the in green color it is. So these two structures, they are related onto the posterior aspect of the abdominal aorta. Now what are the structure which lies onto the right side of the abdominal aorta? On the right side it is the inferior vena cava. See here, inferior, suppose if it is the abdominal aorta on the right side, this is the right side and this is the left side. On the right side running along with the inferior abdominal aorta will be the inferior vena cava and the right crus of the diaphragm. Let me draw a small diagram. Say for example this is abdominal aorta, then on to right side will be the, see it is the abdominal aorta, this is the right crus of the diaphragm. Where is the color? This will be the right crus of the diaphragm. This is the left crus of the diaphragm, which will become muscular later on. Okay, so when it will become muscular, the muscle fibers will arise. So this is the right and the left crus of the diaphragm. And then a fibrous band, a heart-shaped structure will join the right and the left crus of the diaphragm, and this is the median arcuate ligament. Median, okay? And from this median arcuate ligament also will arise the muscles of the diaphragm. So this is the right and the left crus of the diaphragm. This is the aorta, and this is the median crus, okay? And then this will be on the right side will be thus the right crus of the diaphragm, and on to the left side will be the left crus of the diaphragm. Beside this right crus of the diaphragm, abdominal aorta on the right side is also related with the inferior vena cava, okay? It is related with the inferior vena cava. So here is the inferior vena cava. This is the aorta, and this is the level of T12 vertebrae. This is where it is coming out deep to the median arcuate ligament. So this is the median arcuate ligament, okay, the median arcuate ligament. Now on the right side, beside this, the right crus of the diaphragm and that of the inferior vena cava, there will be another structure which will be passing through this abdominal opening. It is the it is the cisterna chyli or cisterna chyli. It is cisterna chyli which will ultimately gives to that of the thoracic duct and azygous vein. Two other structure will lie on to the right side. Cisterna chyli, okay, the beginning of the thoracic duct, and to the azygous vein, okay, the beginning of the azygous vein will lie here onto the right side. Similarly, as I said, onto the left side will be the left crus of the diaphragm as well as the fourth part of the duodenum. The third part of the duodenum will cross and then it will turn upward, and this will be the fourth part of the duodenum will lie here. So this upturned part. So this is the fourth part of the duodenum. This will be the third part of the duodenum. Okay, then this is the fourth. So this onto the left side will be the fourth part of the duodenum will also lie. So these are the relation of the abdominal aorta, okay, of the abdominal aorta. Right. Let us now come to the, after if you have learned this relations of the right side, left side, okay, anterior side and posterior side, okay, anterior side and posterior side, then it will be the, okay, we come to the relationship of the, then we come to the branches, okay, branches, okay. Now on the anterior relation, below the third part of the duodenum, the remaining part of the abdominal aorta is in relation to the coils of the jejunum and ileum, okay, anteriorly. They are in relation to the coils of jejunum and ileum. Now branches of the abdominal aorta, these are important branches. Now the branches which takes origin from the abdominal aorta, they either take origin as a single artery, okay, and they are or they may take origin as a paired arteries, okay, they may take origin. Then they may also take origin, say from ventral aspect of the abdominal aorta, or from the lateral aspect, or from the dorsal aspect of the, so these branches are classified accordingly. For the example, the first class of the branch which takes origin from the abdominal aorta are classified as ventral. That means those branches which are taking origin from the ventral surface of this abdominal aorta, and they are unpaired. That means they are single branches. Okay, that is the first division of these branches. Okay, so note down these divisions. So the first division or first type of the branches are those which are ventral branches, and they are unpaired branches. Okay, they are unpaired branches. That means they are single branches. They are single branches. Let us see which are those branches. First branch which arise, okay, from ventral aspect. Okay, I am talking of the ventral, which I am drawing here. This first branch which takes origin from the ventral aspect is the celiac trunk. Okay, so I will write here celiac trunk. Okay, it is a thick branch. Okay, why it is thick? Because it immediately will break up into the three major branches. Okay, three major. This will break up into the left gastric, which will go to the lesser curvature of the stomach. It will break up a branch which will go to the right side and to supply mainly to the liver and to the duodenum. So it is the common hepatic artery. And then this one branch which is tortuous, it will go towards the left side and will supply to the spleen. It will run on the superior border of the pancreas. So there are three branches of the celiac trunk. Okay, and this celiac trunk, it arises at the level of T12. As soon as it comes out from the median arcuate ligament, it becomes the abdominal aorta. After coming out through the abdominal opening, okay, abdominal opening, I would say diaphragmatic opening of the diaphragm, aortic opening of the diaphragm. This is the first ventral branch is to be given, is the celiac trunk. So note down this celiac trunk at the level of T12, which will divide into three branches: left gastric, common hepatic, and the splenic branch. Okay, to the splenic branch. So this is the celiac trunk, second branch. Second, unpaired and from ventral surface. And this is superior mesenteric artery. See this I am drawing here. This is the superior mesenteric artery. I will just write here. Superior mesenteric artery. And this takes origin at the level of L1, body of L1 vertebrae here. So this is superior mesenteric, and this is the major source to supply the small intestine. And this will give a branch which will also go to the pancreas and duodenum, which is called as inferior pancreaticoduodenum, which will anastomose with the superior pancreaticoduodenum, which is branched from the common hepatic. Okay, it is branched from the common hepatic. Okay, then this is after superior pancreaticoduodenal, the superior mesenteric artery will give a middle colic branch. Then the right colic branch. Okay, so middle colic, right colic, then ileocolic, and many branches which are called as jejunal and ileal branches, that is going to the jejunum and to the ileum. So from where to where this superior mesenteric artery will supply? Through the inferior pancreaticoduodenal, it will supply to the lower half of the second part of the duodenum, to the third part, to the fourth part, then jejunum, to that of the ileum, okay, and to the cecum, okay. Then the I mean to say right colic, this means the ascending colon, then the part of the transverse colon, that is the middle colic branch. Okay, so ileum and cecum, jejunum, all these are supplied by the superior mesenteric arteries. That is the second ventral branch, which is single. Let us come to the third ventral branch, which is also single, and this is known as the, what it is known as? It is known as the inferior mesenteric artery. This is the inferior. I am drawing here. I am giving the color to that of the inferior mesenteric artery. This was superior. Now this is the third one, inferior mesenteric artery. Inferior mesenteric artery. And this inferior mesenteric artery is responsible for supply right from the half of the transverse colon, then sigmoid colon, then the left colon means descending colon, and this will continue as the superior rectal. Not superior rectal is not its branch, but it's the trunk itself will continue as the superior rectal artery. Okay, so it will supply to the upper part of the rectum also. Okay, upper part of the, so from the transverse colon, middle of the transverse colon to the descending colon to the sigmoid colon to the rectum. Okay, this is the artery which is going to supply, and this is called as the inferior mesenteric artery. So these are the three ventral and unpaired branches from the abdominal aorta. Okay, from front of the abdominal aorta. Let us go to the lateral branches. Okay, so we will go now to the class which is the types of branches which are taking origin from the lateral side, and they are paired. Okay, these were unpaired from ventral side, but these are the paired branches. And which are those paired branches? There are four pair of the branches taking origin from lateral. See here, the first branch which is just taking origin, or it is the first branch from the abdominal aorta also. Okay, as soon as it comes out through the abdominal aperture, I mean say through this diaphragmatic opening, aortic opening in the diaphragm, this pair is given right side and to the left side, and this is called as inferior phrenic artery. Inferior phrenic artery. Phrenic means to the diaphragm. So these arteries are going to supply the diaphragm, and they will give a branch what is called a superior suprarenal branch. So these are the two, right and left, inferior phrenic artery supplying to the diaphragm. Then second branch which will come out from, which is a paired branch and coming from lateral side, it is this pair. Now this inferior phrenic was coming out at the level of T12, but this branch which are in a second pair of the branch, this is called as the middle phrenic. Middle, okay, I will just write middle phrenic branches, okay, right and left, and this comes out, okay, inferior to the opening of the celiac trunk at the level of L1 vertebrae. Excuse me, this is at the level of L1 vertebrae, okay, lumbar 1 vertebrae, and this is the middle suprarenal. Where it is going? It is going to the suprarenal gland. Okay, it is going to the suprarenal gland. Another branch I told you, it is superior suprarenal, will come out from the phrenic itself. Then comes the third pair, and third pair is a bigger pair, thick, okay, quite of large caliber, going to supply lot of blood to the right and left kidney. So this is called as renal arteries. Okay, these right and left renal arteries. Okay, right and left renal artery, and they will supply to the kidney. Okay, it will supply to that of the kidney. May give a branch which is the inferior suprarenal. Okay, so these are the right and left renal arteries, and their level of origin is that of the L1. So from the L1 level, many arteries will arise. Middle phrenic, okay, this is the superior mesenteric and the renal arteries. Okay, from that middle phrenic may be, I mean to say, a little higher, okay, towards the intervertebral disc between T12 and L1. Right, then we come to the fourth branch, okay, which is paired and taking origin from lateral side. See here, this goes directly downwards, okay, in the pelvis, and this artery which is taking origin is called as gonadal arteries. Why it is called gonadal? Gonadal. This is because it will supply to the gonads. Gonads means sex organs, which is male testis and female the ovary. So these are testicular or ovarian artery from right side as well as from the left side. So these are the four paired arteries which are taking origin from the lateral side of the abdominal aorta. Which was first? Inferior phrenic, which was second, the middle phrenic, which was third, the renal arteries, and this is the fourth, the inferior, gonadal arteries, okay, testicular or ovarian. See, this were the two different classes or two different types of the arteries. One was taking origin from ventral aspect, unpaired, okay, single arteries. Second was taking origin from lateral side, but they were paired. Let us come to the third class of branches, which are taking origin from dorsal aspect of the abdominal aorta, but they are paired. They are taking origin from dorsal part of the aorta, but they are paired branches, and these are the four pairs of the lumbar arteries, L1, L2, L3 and L4. So these are the four pairs of the lumbar arteries which will go and supply to the wall of the abdomen, okay, the wall of the, so four pairs of the lumbar arteries. So they are paired but taking origin from the dorsal aspect, so four pair. Now coming to, I have not shown here the paired arteries here which are lumbar artery, but you can draw, okay, right from L1, L2, L3, L4, the four on this side and four on that side, okay. So these are, let us come to the fourth class of the arteries which takes origin from the abdominal aorta. These are the dorsal unpaired branch, single branch, but taking origin from the dorsal side, and there is only one artery which takes origin from dorsal aspect of the abdominal aorta, and it is single, and this is called as the median sacral artery, which takes origin from the level of the L4. See here, this is in the midline, so it is called median, and it is taking origin from the posterior aspect of the abdominal aorta just before it bifurcates into two common terminal branches, common iliac arteries, terminal branches. So this artery is called as the median sacral artery, okay, because it is in midline, hence it is median, okay, and it is going to sacrum, hence called as sacral artery, median sacral artery. This is taking origin at L4. I have written the T12, L1, L2, L3, L4. This indicates the level of origin of these arteries, okay, level of origin of these arteries. Let us come to the final type of the branches which arises from the abdominal aorta, and this is the terminal branches. And you can see here the abdominal aorta at the lower border of L4 will divide into two terminal branches which are called as the common iliac arteries. They are the common iliac arteries, right and left, right and left. So these are common iliac arteries, right and left common iliac artery. Now this completes the different branches which are taking origin from the abdominal aorta. So you remember in the form from where they are taking origin, whether this is on the ventral surface or dorsal surface or lateral side, okay, and whether they are paired or the single branches which are, and where and what is their level of origin, okay, and as the name will suggest, to where they are going and supplying, okay. Now finally we come to that of the applied anatomy of the abdominal aorta. I have just chosen three applied importance of the abdominal aorta. Sometimes there may be narrowing or correctation, okay. This is the stenosis of the abdominal aorta, and this stenosis or narrowing in the abdominal aorta, okay, it may take place anywhere in the course of the abdominal aorta, okay, but if it occurs above the origin of renal arteries, okay, above the origin of, that means at the level of L1, before L1 level, if the correctation or the stenosis of the abdominal aorta is taking place, then the blood will not go sufficiently into the kidneys, and this will lead to the lot of problem. Kidney functions will be impaired, and then functions of the kidney will not be well. Serum creatinine may go very high, and it is a fatal condition. So this is the probably the child may not be able to live for many years. Okay. So this is the stenosis of the abdominal aorta. Second applied anatomy of the abdominal aorta is the aneurysm. What is aneurysm? Aneurysm of the abdominal aorta. Aneurysm is a localized dilatation, thinning out of the wall of the aorta and its dilatation. So it may be swelling or a ballooning can take place from the side or from the front. And or the posterior, from anywhere. Okay, and usually it is close to the bifurcation of the common iliac, formation of the common iliac arteries, or near the renal arteries origin. Okay, and if this aneurysm is large, okay, and if it ruptures, okay, because a person doesn't know whether he is having the aneurysm or not, or dilatation, abnormal thinning of its wall, and if it ruptures, there will be lot of bleeding takes place from abdomen. Before the person will reach to the medical help, okay, probably he will die. Okay, it will lead to the sudden death. So aneurysm of abdominal aorta is fatal, always fatal. Okay. Now the third applied anatomy of the abdominal aorta is the aortic pulsation. Okay, so you can feel the pulsation in a thin person who is not obese. Okay, and ask him to lie down on the bed and then flex the hip joint so that the anterior abdominal muscles become relaxed, and then you can press it just below the umbilicus, more onto the left side, okay, of the median plane, and then the pulsation can be felt here. Okay, so this completes your, the answer for the question on to the abdominal aorta, its relation, its branches, and its applied importance. Thank you very much for watching this video.